Heatco furnaces are shipped pre-calibrated and are 100% test fired before leaving the factory. The following test procedure is for training and field verification purposes. This is a standard CA control board for modules firing over 400,000 BTUs and with a pilot. The control involves an ignition transformer, a combustion air switch, a 24-volt AC transformer, a time delay relay, a flame safeguard control, and a Maxitrol signal conditioner. The heating module gas train uses a Maxitrol modulating valve, and based on gas train standard and heater input, it will have either one hydraulic valve and one solenoid valve, or two solenoid valves. These are the tools you will need to complete the test fire: a flathead screwdriver, a precision flat tip screwdriver, a precision Phillips head screwdriver, a toggle switch with wire leads, a 0 to 10 volt DC generator, and manometers. Higher capacity units require a gas supply pressure in PSI instead of inches water column. Be sure to have a manometer capable of measuring the correct range. To test fire the heating unit, you will need to do the following. Remove the discharge air controller 0 to 10 volt DC modulation signal wire leads. Remove the discharge air controller heat enable wire leads. Close the inlet, pilot, and manifold manual shutoff valves. Remove the modulating gas valve cover. Remove the high fire and low fire regulator adjustment caps. Loosen the low fire set screw and turn counterclockwise to the middle span position. Remove the pilot regulator adjustment cap. Attach the manual heat enable switch with wire leads to T1 and T2. Connect the 0 to 10 volt DC generator to the supplied terminal strip. The positive signal wire lead goes to plus, and the negative signal wire lead goes to minus. If the polarity is not correct, the module will only run at low fire. Install a pressure tap in the gas manifold and connect a manometer. Install a pressure tap upstream of the main gas valves and connect a manometer. Install a pressure tap downstream of the pilot regulator and connect a manometer. Connect a differential manometer to the combustion air switches. The high air switch is connected to the static tap located upstream of the profile plate, and the low air switch is connected to the static tap downstream of the profile plate. Connect the high temperature limit switch wire leads between T9 and T10. Connect the supply voltage wire leads to L1, L2, and ground terminals. With the circulating blower on and the heat module off, adjust the manual profile dampers to achieve a burner profile pressure drop of 0.6 inches to 0.9 inches water column. Read the manifold pressure and record it. This negative pressure will be used to calculate the pilot manifold pressure and the high fire manifold pressure setting. To begin the test fire sequence, open the inlet manual shutoff valve and make sure of the proper inlet gas pressure. This supply gas pressure should be within the range found on the heat module ratings label. Open the pilot manual shutoff valve. Supply the source voltage to the heater control. The Siemens LME7 flame safeguard will display off. Supply 0 volts DC to the control board. Close the heat enable switch to initiate the startup sequence. The purge time delay relay will be powered and will hold voltage until the set time expires. The set time depends on the amount of time it takes to have 4 complete air changeovers within the air cabinet and discharge air duct. The set time varies based on installation. Once the purge time delay relay expires, the Siemens LME7 flame safeguard will show P21. This checks the high limit, proof of closure, and gas pressure safety switch circuits. Once P21 is proven, the Siemens LME7 moves to P22. This checks that both the high and low air switch circuits are closed. After P22 is proven, the Siemens LME7 will move to P30, which is an internal pre-purge period of 30 seconds. After the 30-second pre-purge period has expired, the LME7 will display P40 and start a 10-second pilot trial for ignition. Adjust the pilot regulator to achieve 3.5 inches water column differential pilot pressure. For example, if the measured manifold pressure before startup was negative 1.5 inches water column, then the pilot pressure should be adjusted to 2.0 inches water column. Once the flame is sensed, P42 will be displayed on the LME7. Once the pilot flame is stabilized, P44 will be displayed. Once the pilot sequence has commenced, the Siemens LME7 will power the main gas valves. P50 will be displayed on the LME7. Since the manifold manual shutoff valve is closed, the Siemens LME7 will lock out and display Lock 2. This means no flame at startup. Open the manual heat enable switch. Reset the Siemens LME7 by holding the enter button for 2 seconds and releasing, or by pressing the remote reset button if there is one provided. If a high gas pressure safety switch is installed, the switch will need to be reset. Open the manifold manual shutoff valve. Close the manual heat enable switch. The Siemens LME7 will proceed through safety checks P21 and P22, then move to pre-purge P30. Once the 30-second pre-purge period has expired, it will start the pilot ignition sequence P40, P42, and P44. Once the pilot flame is stable, the Siemens LME7 will power the main gas valves P50 and start the 10-second main flame establishing period. Once the main flame is stable, the Siemens LME7 will move to operation and OP1 will be displayed on the LME7, and the heat module will run at minimum input. The running display on the LME7 during normal operation is flame signal percent. It is not uncommon for the percent to fluctuate. After operation is established, the SC11 will ignore the 0 to 10 volt DC modulation signal for 15 seconds for a warm-up period. After the warm-up period has expired, the modulating valve moves to the operating position specified by the modulation signal. Supply 10 volts DC to the heat module control board. The module will run at high fire. Adjust the high fire regulator on the Maxitrol modulating valve to obtain the desired differential manifold pressure that is found on the heat module ratings label. The high fire manifold pressure setting is calculated by taking the rated differential manifold pressure and subtracting the manifold pressure while the module is off. For example, if the rated differential manifold pressure is 4.53 inches water column and the recorded manifold pressure is negative 1.5 inches water column, then the high fire manifold pressure should be set at 3 inches water column. Once the high fire manifold pressure is set, reduce the modulation signal voltage to 0 volts DC. To set the low fire manifold pressure, the flame has to be viewed through the provided viewport. Adjust the modulating valve low fire adjustment with a precision flat tip screwdriver. To increase input, turn counterclockwise, and to decrease input, turn clockwise. The flame should be backed into the throat of the burner, generally 1 to 2 inches in height. Once the low fire is set, tighten down the low fire adjustment set screw. Remove the call for heat by opening the manual heat enable switch. The main gas valves will close, shutting off the supply of gas to the burners, and the flames will extinguish. Turn off the supply power to the heat module. Disconnect all manometers and plug all pressure test ports. In the field, make sure that the discharge air controller wire leads are reconnected and secured properly before recommissioning the heat module.